Welcome to the ArtMiabo Podcast, the show where we talk to fine artists, creative minds, and cultural backers from the African continent. I'm your host, Gift Enyadike, and with me today is a man whose work sits at the intersection of art, culture, and community development, who has made it his mission to create spaces where talent can thrive, particularly in northern Nigeria. He is an artist, an advocate, and the mind behind the Art Jollof philosophy, Mr. Aliyu Aminu Ahmed. Sir, thank you very much for joining us at this time. How are you doing?
Thank you, Gift.
So I know I've obviously given people a little bit of that window dressing, but could you please, in a bit more detail, introduce yourself for those who may be unfamiliar with you?
My name is Aliyu Aminu Ahmed. I am an art advocate. I am hesitant to say I'm an artist because there are a lot of artists out there that are doing great work. But I can borrow the word, for lack of better word. I also do abstract art. Even though I tell people I'm late bloomer in the art scene, but actually, in reality, I've been in the art world since 1991, publishing poems in local newspapers, government newspapers since that time. I've been writing since that time, but then the visual art uh, scene, I think just a couple of years ago that I began to fully explore. So I've been in the creative world and digital space for some time now. I have supported and continue to support projects that create jobs for young people in the area. And I've actually participated in a lot of development works that supported the creation of jobs in the space for thousands of young people across Nigeria. So I cannot say I'm a novice in the scene. Rather, maybe the advocacy aspect and specific to visual art is recently being discussed because I started talking about Art Jollof.
Yes. And can you actually tell us a bit more about your journey? Like what got you started, first of all, down the creative path, and then, leading you to where you are now with visual art and also with becoming an advocate for young people, for other visual artists, other artists. I'd like to know a bit more about where you
So
got your
I,
start
I
and just
grew up,
how you got to the point.
yeah, I grew up in the rural part of northern Nigeria, Adamawa State, Yola. So at that time, I would say actively in writing poems, poetry generally, it was when I lost my dad. So I just started writing my deep emotions and putting them to paper. So, but then I realized that young people around my community lacking jobs. I didn't do anything, and I really was taught by that. And then I started pushing out, advocating to local administration to create jobs for young people and so on. I then got support from capacity building for decentralized development of DFI to start young youth projects in the 90s. So that's how I got into the space. So, but then later on, I did a lot of work around women empowerment, development work. So people like us are called active citizens. So active citizens actually identify issues of the community and try to catalyze change. So, and then my own choice of young people and visual art and development intersection is actually motivated by community issues. But then for the art specifically that I'm passionate about these days is that I see a gap in two ways. One gap is that Northern Nigeria is totally not significantly represented in the art scene in Africa as well as Nigeria.
Yeah.
And no one is speaking about that. So I see that as a gap. Secondly, I've studied a lot on the art world generally, all the movements, everything about the art world, from the way there's a lot of gatekeeping in that profession. So people find it
Yes.
difficult to come in. They look at it as more elitist, look at it as you have to go to certain level of studies and so on. While actually it's in all of us. When you go to study art, you are only exploring what is inside you. It's in all of us. Even from the caveman days, they do art. So basically, I want to demystify the entry point. Also create enabling environment for people to thrive in that. I'm doing this to create more people to adapt the visual arts. Uh, Culturally, here in the northern Nigeria, completely as young people, until we grew up, we don't like, or culture do not tolerate drawing people, realist art, and so on. So, to demystify that, to tell people that, look, you can do art, express yourself, inner feelings with visual art without necessarily having to follow the laid down international systems or routes, because it's not about visually painting realist art. It's about expressing ourselves, whether it is abstract or whether it is realist. But you have that right to express yourself to the world and for people to listen to you. But I want to say something here clearly with you. I am not promoting my own art as Aliyu Aminu Ahmed. In fact, I'm not encouraging anybody to buy my art. What I am encouraging people is to understand where I am coming from, why I am doing what I am doing. I am doing this because I feel that there is a gap that people need to fill. Art for Africa should be art by Africans. You don't need to borrow other people's culture from the West to come and adapt it and force yourself to do it. Rather, look inwards. Within your community, within your
Yes.
culture, there is a lot of art for you to express so that the world will understand that we are rich in our culture and heritage than us copying and pasting international, other countries' art.
Yes, and I think that brings us nicely back to I think the main topic of this conversation, that being the concept of Art Jollof, which you yourself introduced to us. I think over the week you were kind enough to share some of your work with me, and I found it to be incredibly striking and very uniquely African. So
Yeah,
for
yeah.
those of our viewers who may be hearing about it for the very first time, what exactly is Art Jollof and what does it look like in practice?
So you know that jollof rice is from Nigeria. I don't want people from Ghana to say that it is
Yes.
from Ghana.
Yeah,
Jollof
no, it's
rice
ours. It's ours. It's ours.
Nigeria.
Absolutely.
So, and then from that, you should know that Art Jollof is from Nigeria. Nobody else have it anywhere in the world. So, but why? What is Art Jollof? Art Jollof is actually a metaphor to say that, and a movement too, actually, to say that people should be encouraged to practice art culture. So it's not about just to paint, but I want to institutionalize the culture of art in all of us. That is, every family, each individual has art in him or her, and they can freely express it without limitation of gatekeeping, limitation of all these systems. Don't get me wrong. I don't say that people should not understand color theory, to not understand all these things, but let them do it in such a way that they are not using it from the lens of Renaissance, all those kind of things. No, let them use their own knowledge plus their instincts to come up with
Yes.
something that's unique. So in that way,
Innovate. That's basically. Yeah.
you use primary colors where you need them. You can use brush strokes as you like, so long as what is in that your mind is out there for people to appreciate. Even if they don't appreciate, even if they don't buy it, but you have that happiness in you that you have expressed yourself. So I really, Art Jollof is all about trying to bring in something that is in you, freely expressing yourself using as much color as possible. But for me, as a person, Art Jollof to me is that every piece of art should have a story. You don't sit down and carry a white person, a picture, and then do a realist art of that picture, like a photograph, and expect somebody to appreciate it. It's not like that. It's not done like that. You should pick your this thing, paint, brush, and paint, and do something that is originally in you. So if each of us is going to try doing something original, and then each art piece should tell a story, it's a complete story. Having human face only, unless maybe the expression is wild, but just a face and you think that you are expressing, no, there are a lot of things to express without necessarily being realistic. Then Art Jollof to me is a mix of abstraction and a little bit of visualization. Because when you do abstract completely, people tend to not to understand exactly what is in your mind. So they just see paint and it's beautiful. But then when you do a little bit of visualization, not realism, but you do it in such a way that people will and they are going to understand what you are trying to express, and the story is complete, like a poem, complete on that art page. The other one that I showed you, you see the whole story of humanity displayed there, and then you sit down and be looking at it and be listening. You look at it, there's a lot of things to internalize from that single art piece. So in that way, for me, it's a
Yeah.
jollof. Like jollof, it can have different flavors, different ingredients, but so long as you see it, you know it is jollof rice. So the same thing with art jollof. You can do your own art, express yourself, but once somebody see the vibrance, they know, yes, this is not any other place than Africa. These colors are us. This is our identity. So that's what I call art jollof. And encourage people to try it and see. And then the strokes you shouldn't economize the strokes. You can have bold strokes, but you have to do it in such a way that you do it until you yourself know that this canvas is saturated, but it's beautiful. So that is art jollof to me. Jollof rice, when they do it, it will boil, 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 and fill up the pot. And then when you are bringing it out, you see the steam, and then everybody knows that this is jollof rice. So the same thing with the art piece. When you see it, the vibrance is so good and so palatable. You want to just sit down and appreciate everything. And not any other place you see art like that. You see art in European countries, minimalist, very conservative with color. They are trying to. No, art jollof is vibrance. So if you like, you put it in front of your desk in your computer. You will be enjoying, and your eye will be very clear. You walk and look at it. You walk and look at it. So enjoy your art jollof. Try it, test it, and you will really appreciate what I mean by that.
You heard the man. Give it a try. But now let's go back to some of the points you've actually repeatedly touched on. That is, of course, the barriers and the gatekeeping in the art world that a lot of emerging artists have had to deal with.
Yeah.
But can you maybe go a bit into more detail? Like, what are those big obstacles that artists face today, and how do initiatives like your gallery, the Arewa Art Fair, the AMIA Festival, have to do the plug? How do they begin to solve that?
So, first of all, I want to appreciate Miabo really for even bringing me to this podcast. You can see it's her effort. So it's her effort to promote art in Nigeria and create space for artists. So this festival
Yes.
that is coming up is a good opportunity for artists to come together and reflect and link up, build a network among each other together with the collectors and so on. So this festival you are organizing is an opportunity for interaction. It's an opportunity to showcase our own cultural heritage and talents. It's an opportunity for us to reflect deeper on our own originality. So, but in addition, I also appreciate her own Instagram channel where every day she talks about issues that really also borders on what I'm talking about as an advocate. One, provenance. Two, documentation. Three, authentication. Four, positioning. Five, linkages. So all these things are issues that are affecting our artists, especially in northern Nigeria and to some extent the southern part of Nigeria. So if you look at it as an artist, a lot of people don't even know how to go further from what they are doing. They can paint, express themselves, but then everywhere in Nigeria, printed art, photocopied, or this thing on the by the roadside have infiltrated everywhere. People buy those, download from AI, and then print and then sell. So more than 99% of people in Nigeria, and I can say across the world, do not have opportunity to even have access to original art piece. That is one. But then even to have access to original art piece, the artists themselves are not properly documented for people to know that they are investing in art, that when they look back, their investment will pay off. So in addition to visibility, that documentation aspect, you find an art that doesn't have any description, any provenance, anything. So you are actually buying a piece of, I don't know what to call it, but it's not art. So with this platform that Miabo is doing, it is kind of authenticating the practice, adding a lot of validation to existing artists so that people that are investing in art are going to actually invest in the good artists, invest in the good, what do you call it, galleries, and then make sure that whatever they are doing have value so that everybody will kind of participate in the ecosystem. So I do believe that the challenges that I've mentioned, still there is a lot of work, but people like Miabo are actually doing a lot. From my side, I'm doing a little, but then our own ogas, I mean, our elders in the system like Miabo are really doing a great deal to bring us all together, and we truly appreciate it.
Thank you very much for that. That was just amazing. You've described art as it's not just, you've spoken about expression, but I think you've also described it as a tool for transformation, for identity, opportunity. And, we've talked about it, community building and healing. If everything you're building succeeds, what does that transformation actually look like, especially for young people where you come from, where you spent a lot of your time in northern Nigeria?
So I think it's opening up like a tap that is closed. So when you open the tap, the water flows where it wants to flow. So we are trying to open up the tap. So once the tap is open, it's a whole ecosystem, from people selling the paints to people selling the canvases, from the people doing the art, people selling the art, investments by government, support to the artists. The entire ecosystem has millions of jobs to create for people, billions of naira to generate for the economy, and then above all, a culture of our own local indigenous art will be promoted in such a way that we in this generation can preserve our heritage for the future. So I do think that this is an opportunity for people to embrace the culture. I always emphasize the culture, because the culture is, when you have the culture, you carry your children to the gallery to appreciate uh, artists, to know the history and so on. That's one part of culture. And then in your house, you have our own local culture. There are culture, calabashes, henna, calligraphy. So many things are there that is under exploited, underrepresented in the international art scene. So what we are doing can definitely add value and multiply effect to the economy and the ecosystem as a whole. So it's a big thing. And eventually, I do see us having private museums, art festivals, art fairs springing up, especially in northern Nigeria, to represent our people. So by extension, I know we will catch up to the southern part of Nigeria, and then we all work together for a greater Nigeria. So I do think there is a lot of opportunities out there for collaboration and economic development.
Yes. I love your point there, working together for a greater Nigeria. That's what it's all about. Mr. Ahmed, sir, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. This was an incredible conversation. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, a share, and subscribe. And tune in next week. We will see you next time.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.